A very special edition of Splash Hit territory today. Why? Because it's the first day of spring training. Woohoo! Pitchers and catchers in Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm in the home base here in downtown San Francisco. Susan is on site in Scottsdale, Arizona, frequent contributor to the show, nice enough to join us today. And she's got all kinds of news on the Giants. She's been in the dugout. She talked to Tony. She talked to Buster. She talked to players. So this is going to be like you're a guest on my KNBR show. You're there. I'm here. Your boots on the ground. I listened to all the tapes of the interviews today, but you were there. So how does it feel to be in Scottsdale? How does it feel to be in camp? Like, give me your thoughts initially.
Well, I had a rough travel night. I was supposed to get in. I didn't want to leave during the day because of everybody leaving from the Super Bowl. So I left in the evening. My flight that was supposed to get in at 10:30 got in at 2 a.m. And yeah, so if I seem out of it, that's why. But it was very exciting at camp today, right? Like we go in thinking like Tony Vitello's the big story on the first day of camp. We had a couple national guys. Ken Rosenthal was there. Bob Nightingale was there. Barry Bloom was there. A couple other people, just for Tony, you could tell. But also Luis Arráez, the new. I mean, we were expecting it. Of course, it makes so much sense when it's that close to spring training to just get your physical, announce it the first day of the spring. Then you can also make the corresponding move. That worked beautifully, but also that winds up being so for a first day at camp, there was a lot going on. But really, I got to say, gosh, what's number one? Is it Arraez or is it Vitello? You decide.
I say Arraez because I saw videos of him taking ground balls at second already, and he was full uni today, and he's ready to go. And all the things you hear about him, his work ethic, how he fits in. So he was there, and just so the fans know that a lot of times it's pitchers and catchers, but you can report early as a position player. And it's a good look. I want to be there. I'm excited to be there, taking ground balls. So you talked to him. What did he have to say?
Yeah, I mean, I had never heard anything but raves about Luis Arraez as a fellow. Like his teammates love him. The media really likes him. He's so likable. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Willie. Now, Willie is just he's got it pegged when it comes to charm and friendliness. Arraez maybe not quite to that, but he's like constantly smiling, very friendly, answered every question, looked like, was really engaged, interested, seems delighted to be with the Giants, said all the right things. He checked with Gregor Blanco before signing, and Gregor Blanco said essentially like, man, you're going to love the park. You're going to have so much fun playing there. And he thought, okay, that sounds pretty good to me. He's got a Juan Marichal jersey is one of his most treasured items. A hitting coach back in Venezuela gave it to him, so he's hoping that maybe he could get that signed sometime. So, but the main thing he said was, look, they've got all those rings. He's pals with Sandoval. He's pals with Gregor Blanco. He's like, pretty good spot to get some rings. So you like to hear that kind of stuff. And of course, the questions are going to be about the defense, and we've talked about that ever since we knew that he was coming aboard. But Ron Washington is now on site. He told me Luis Arraez is a pro. Once I get guys, really, the thing is the buy-in. He's all about, you show up, I'm going to teach you what to do. You are going to listen. You're going to put it into practice. You've been there, FP. You've done it. And once you do that and you establish the routine, you're going to get it, and you will be a better fielder. And he thinks that Luis Arraez can be a good second baseman, and that's all the Giants are looking for. They're not looking for a Gold Glove second baseman. It clearly means a lot to him to play second, and I love hearing that.
Yeah, he had me in his first quote when he said, "I don't like strikeout." And when he said, "I don't like strikeout," I'm like,
I hate strikeouts. He said, "I hate strikeouts."
He hates strikeouts. But it was super cute how he said it. And it was like one of the first things that came out of his mouth. I've always thought, Susan, I've said it on here before, that defense is an attitude. If you want to get better at it, it's a lot of work. And if you're willing to put the time in and you have the work ethic and the right attitude that I want to play this position and I want to get better at it, and then you have the resources at the major league level to get better at it. You got a million coaches. Half of them are sitting around, nothing to do. Grab somebody, have them hit you fungos at 1:00. And now on top of that, you have one of the best infield coaches in Ron Washington, who I've talked about a million times on the show about how he kind of changed my outlook towards second base. And I was always a good fielder. And like right when you think you know everything, you still learn something from somebody like Wash. And I mean, that's perfectly said. Like, if you're willing to come out here, put in the work, you're going to get better. And I watched the ground balls today, and from a trained eye, he's fine. I know they're just fungos and they're ground balls, but it wasn't like I saw Luciano take ground balls the first day in spring training about 3 years ago, and I went, whoa. Like the first ground ball, it was very clunky. It was very heavy-footed. It was very stabby and jabby at the baseball. But I watched Arraez's actions today, and about 10 ground balls. Casey Smith standing right behind him. And I like I've said a million times, I am not worried about his defense. I think with Ron Washington there, and based on his attitude alone, even if Wash wasn't there, if he wants to get better at it, he's going to get better at it. And that's not a concern for me.
You know, the main thing obviously is the bat. And I think he automatically makes the Giants lineup longer, deeper. The guys who will be hitting in the spots behind him, talked to Adames, Chapman, they were sort of salivating at the prospect potentially of having him batting leadoff or second, somewhere in the order ahead of them. Patrick Bailey told me something interesting. He said, like, this is a guy who drove me nuts as a catcher. Like, there is no game planning. He said he's plan proof, essentially. You can't, it doesn't matter the count. It doesn't matter the pitcher. He's probably going to put the bat on the ball. And asking Buster, this is a pattern now with Buster Posey. He likes contact hitters. We saw that with the trades last summer. We saw that in the draft. And certainly now with Arraez, he's the sort of the ultimate contact hitter to add. And I asked him, why do you like contact hitters so much? Like, what is it? Like, this is kind of going against the grain of the analytics craze was all launch angle and the 3 true outcomes. And it really changed baseball, I think, in some ways for the worse. Things always come back around in baseball, though. And Buster said, like, look, I don't want a lineup made up entirely of contact hitters. We've got plenty of guys who strike out a lot. But they're the guys, clearly, who are going to provide the power, et cetera. But you want some contact hitters. Kind of goes without saying, this is pretty much the best contact hitter in the game right now, certainly right up there. But he said, when it gets to the postseason, and this is key, I think, for Buster, the contact hitters are the ones who are really key. The guys who are striking out, if you've got a team where you've got 15, 16 strikeouts a game, and this is Buster, these are not the teams that advance. The teams that put the ball in play, put the pressure on the defense, get into the pitcher's mind. These are the teams that advance. Now, I did sneak a peek at Luis Arráez postseason numbers, which are not necessarily to date necessarily what you'd be looking for, but I do like the concept, and I love contact hitter. I was in Oakland for the whole Moneyball thing. I am not necessarily a big proponent of the three true outcomes thing. I saw a lot of guys standing there looking at called strike 3 with runners on third, and I don't like it. I want a contact guy in those situations.
You know who else you couldn't game plan for back in the day? And I'm not making this comparison, but it jogged my memory, is Tony Gwynn. Tony Gwynn used to throw the ball right down the middle and hope he got himself out. You couldn't go hard in, soft away. You couldn't fool him. You couldn't trick him. And it was frustrating for catchers. And I had pitchers come up to me and like, how do you pitch this guy? I'm like, throw it right down the middle. Hope he gets himself out. There's no game plan. Same thing with Vladimir Guerrero. There was no game plan for that guy because he was such a bad ball hitter and he covered so many different quadrants of the strike zone, north, south, east, and west. So there's certain guys like that where you just hope he hits it at somebody. But like 181 hits last year, led all of baseball as 181 hits. He's a 3-time batting champion. I saw somebody ask him Buster a question today about it was kind of a leading question about why didn't anybody else want Luis Arráez? And Buster even called him out and said it was a leading question, I think. And he's like, he fits good into our lineup. And he mentioned that when you get to the playoffs, it's all 1s and 2s. It's the best pitchers in baseball. You wouldn't have got there unless you didn't have a good staff. And the teams that put the ball in play, and I think Toronto struck out the lowest amount of any team in baseball last year. Perfect example, putting the ball in play, putting pressure on the defense. Buster likes aggressive baseball, and putting the ball in play with 2 strikes is aggressive. So I told you, this is repeating myself, but I wanted this guy before he went to the Padres. I thought the Giants could have traded for him and he would have been a nice piece, but now they have him. He's going to learn second base. It sounds like he's a great teammate. His videos in the cage, Susan, his work ethic before the game were legendary. This guy gets after it. He works hard every day. So if he takes pride in his defense as much as his offense, and has a chip on his shoulder, like, okay, I want to play second and I want to prove you wrong. I mean, that's exactly what the doctor ordered for Wash, man. It's going to be a good fit. I just
And
hope,
that stuff all rubs off too. I mean, when you have guys sort of setting that standard, and they certainly do at several different spots. Matt Chapman was out there working with Ron Washington for a long time today. Matt Chapman, I mean, he wants to get good solid base going for his defense. This guy has 2 platinum gloves. This stuff does, the younger players look at that. That's going to help all the way around. But I think the Giants, people I think are now maybe not with the addition of Arraez, but I think people are still kind of sleeping on the Giants. And I know people are going to go, this is homery. Looking at it, I'm trying to look at it totally objectively. But you add Arraez, who is, at 312, I think, lifetime hitter, and we don't care about average, but the guy's getting on base. You need somebody to get on base. How many times last season was it just a matter of they just weren't hitting? There was nobody on. It was such an erratic lineup. He is not erratic. This guy is pretty clockwork. He will get on base.
I like the putting the ball in play with a runner on third, less than 2 outs.
Absolutely.
How many times did we see strikeouts in that situation over the past
100%.
2 or 3 years? So 100%. I'm okay. I think he drove in 60 something runs last year in a position. So if you put the ball in play, good things happen. And that's a cliche, but it's fact.
And they've got Chapman presumably healthy for the whole year. Willie Adames is over his, I'm new to this team, I've got this big contract, weird offensive funk. They've got Devers for the full season, and he's now comfortable, and he's comfortable at first. Even, you go down the, Jung-Hoo Lee should be better. He was supposed to be the contact guy. He should be better. So you would imagine he contributes more. You get all the way down to the bottom, and I've said this so many times that I hope I'm not jinxing things, but Patrick Bailey was really starting to figure some things out. And I talked to him today, and he, I think he still feels really good with where his swing is. And if he's even just sort of hitting a major league average for a catcher, that's a big win for the Giants. And that's a really pretty good lineup. It's not the Dodgers. Nobody's the Dodgers. Probably not the Padres or but it's maybe upper half offense. And now at some point we'll again get back to the bullpen, because I spent a lot of time asking Buster about the bullpen, because I think there's a lot. The bullpen's a mystery right now.
Patrick Bailey's my pick to click this year because he's been a low energy guy at sometimes. It's kind of understandable at his position, but if he has a high energy manager, that might rub off on him, and you might get the best version of Patrick Bailey on both sides of the baseball this year. And when you got a guy that's a future Hall of Fame catcher as your boss, I would feel like that puts a little pressure on you to bring it every single day too. What were your impressions of Tony today? First time as a major league skipper. He's sitting in the scrum. I heard a lot of Tennessee today. I think he's still talking about his ex too much, in my opinion, but I love the guy. He misses his ex-girlfriend a lot in the University of Tennessee. So there was a lot of Tennessee talk today, but all around, I listened to the interview. It seemed like he was excited to be there and excited to talk to you guys. What was your impression?
Yeah, what I think is going on, I don't really know him well enough to really hazard a guess, but I suspect that Tony Vitello doesn't want to say too much concrete about the team and, specific questions dealing with the team, because he hasn't even gotten them all together yet. He's still learning guys. Some guys aren't even in camp yet. Like, he's not going to go way far out and make any big bold declarations on the first day of all things. He's keeping it kind of folksy and charming the way he has. But every once in a while he'll say something that's pretty interesting. I know you picked up on some of his thoughts on Bryce Eldridge, and he's talked a lot about Bryce. He knows Bryce. He recruited him. But it is kind of funny because you catch him here saying like little things that are just kind of more college game. Like he keeps calling Jace Tingler Coach Tingler.
Oh God, we gotta clean that up.
Yeah, he'll get all that stuff.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know,
it's actually given, like, it's kind of fun. I like it. It's we haven't dealt with this before. It is charming.
Yeah, the fans don't know watching this right now that there's no coaches. Like, there's a pitching coach and a hitting coach, but you don't call coaches in the big leagues. You call them either skipper or you call the coach by his first name, which was something I had to adjust to. I remember my first day in professional baseball, I called my manager coach, and Matt Stairs was the salty old veteran in A-ball. He goes, "Hey, we don't call them coach here. You call them by their first name, idiot," something like that. So it's just, hey, this is all going to take care of itself. It's kind of cute, like you said right
It
now.
is cute. It's cute.
He did talk about Bryce.
He's
going to be fine. I have the utmost confidence in him. Baseball's baseball, and he's going to figure it out on the fly, and he's going to figure, every day is such a learning curve. It's like when we were in our 20s. Every year when we were in our 20s was like 10 years, from 20 to 21, and 20 years old, 21 to 22. It just seemed like in your 20s, every single year was like 10, and every single day might be like 10 years to Tony Vitello at the major league level. So off to a good start. I like the questions about Bryce Eldridge today. I thought Tony had some really telling comments about Bryce. And if you read between the lines there, it seems like he and Buster both talked about Bryce today. But maybe your thoughts on Tony and what he said about Bryce Eldridge. And I'll read some quotes here when you're done.
Well, we know that Tony Vitello has been a Bryce Eldridge fan since he recruited him. He's well aware of who he is. He's said nice things about him now at every fan fest and here in the first day of pitchers and catchers workout. And I think it's in Bryce. The impression I get both from Buster and from Tony Vitello is this is kind of in Bryce's hands. A good spring, he's on the team. But I think even more important than what people are saying is you look at the fact they add Luis Arráez. They've been targeting second base as a place to put somebody all winter, either via the trade or free agency. Obviously, as we talked about, they'd looked at Brandon Donovan and of course Nico Horner. The fact that second was where they were looking when they have essentially a DH spot open tells me now. Look, you can run everybody through the DH spot and kind of use Casey Schmidt as a super utility, or Tyler Fitzgerald or Gerard Encarnacion could DH. There are other things you could do, but the fact that they were sort of clearly leaving that spot open and not signing a DH and not signing Arraez to DH specifically to play second, that tells me that Bryce Eldridge is the leader in the clubhouse.
Yeah. And we'll see. I think personally, you get too excited about a guy in spring training. You get too down on a guy in spring training, that it's just spring training, that sometimes when the bright lights come on, it's different. Either way, whether a guy hits 100 in spring training, opening day gets 3 hits, or whether the guy hits 500 with 10 home runs in spring training and goes 1 for his first 20. I think I've played for a lot of managers, and I never say a bad thing about Felipe Alou. He's my hero, but Felipe was guilty about getting excited about guys a little bit. It was the worst ever? Sparky Anderson. He would be like, "This is the next Mickey Mantle." And he would say stuff like that in spring training. The guy wouldn't even make the team. So he had some good quotes. He said he's incredibly mature as a kid. This is Tony talking about Bryce. He said, but repetitions and conversations and just maturing so that he's a complete player, I think, is the key to him becoming the best version of himself. I love that. And if he becomes the best version of himself, I don't. I think you guys will hammer me a little worse than Knoxville. There's a Tennessee reference. We got to put a fine in the kangaroo court for everyone if I say something that doesn't happen. So maybe that's why Tony's a little bit guarded. But I think he's the best version of himself. He said, I think he's the best version of himself, he's around the Giants pretty dang often, and maybe even on opening day. Let's say it like that.
Now, and of course, we always have to remember that the coaching staff has a lot of input. The manager has a ton of input into the final roster, but ultimately it's going to be the front office with any of the personnel decisions. So it's going to be in Buster's hands, Zach Manassian's hands, with a big sort of push, I think, from Tony Vitello. But I kind of think, unless he falls on his face, I'm pretty sure. Or you know what? If there's another move, or even if, like, say, Gerard Encarnacion who's out of options like Luis Matos, if he has a huge spring again, and he was having a nice spring, you'll remember last year when until he dove and hurt his hand, he still potentially got a shot. And if Bryce does open the season at Sacramento, it is no slight to Bryce Eldridge. He is so young. He's 21. He has not had that much time at Sacramento even. So that's not going to be it's a win-win either way. Breaks camp with the team, great. Goes to Sacramento, probably see him pretty quickly no matter what. So sometimes teams try to sneak their guys who are out of option onto the roster for an extra week or two early in the season so they can keep them if they take them off the roster at some point. Maybe they might try to do that with a Matos or Encarnacion, who knows? But I really do think that right now Bryce Eldridge, it sounds like, is in the driver's seat from what everyone is saying. And I think from the fact that they were targeting second base. So the question then is, what happens with Casey Schmidt? We've been asking that for ever since we learned that they were talking about second base as a possibility, but certainly since the Arraez news broke. And Buster said, super utility and move around. And I guess he's kind of like the backup infielder mostly.
Hold your thought on Casey Schmidt. We got to take care of some business because we've been yapping a little bit too long here. But we got a commercial for you guys, and then we'll be right back after this.
Nobody likes a bloated cell phone bill. It can consume you. It can take over. It can be very annoying. So I know that 2025 ended Kratz, and that's when you have your end of year sales. But there actually is still one sale that is running until the end of the month.
Mint Mobile. They still have their 50% off their unlimited premium wireless offer that you got to go and get and take advantage of because it's not necessarily going to be around all the time.
And all plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Quit overspending on wireless with 50% off unlimited premium wireless. Plans start at $15 a month at mintmobile.com/territory. That's mintmobile.com/territory. Limited time offer. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12 months. Plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Over 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com.
All right, we took care of the business. Thanks for hanging with us, guys. Susan joins me again on the show. It's been a pleasure to have you on, especially after a tough travel day. You're working on zero sleep and absolutely nailing it like you always do. I feel like, based on your off season in London and all the concerts you go to, you're used to working on no sleep. So I was never worried about you at all. Casey, did anybody talk about Casey being an outfielder too? Because I'm sticking to that. I haven't heard anything, but I feel like he's okay. He'd be okay to play out there because he can run a little bit.
It seems like it's sort of been vaguely mentioned. Nobody said it outright. I don't think anybody would be surprised if we suddenly saw him out there shagging once in a while. I've heard really good things about Tyler Fitzgerald, who's sort of been playing everywhere. I checked in with Tyler today. He's got 4 gloves. He's ready to play in the outfield if needed. And the coaching staff seems like, and this is every spring really, coaching staff says Tyler Fitzgerald looks great, thinks that he could be a contributor at some point. So like hearing that. He's a guy who I think sometimes it's the confidence more than the skill set we've seen. We've seen what Tyler Fitzgerald can bring, including some pop. But he gets a little in his own head. If he can figure out a way to get out of that, and this is somebody like Ron Washington, I think could be very helpful here because Tyler Fitzgerald was really struggling defensively at times, and you could see him thinking on the field, which is never good. I think Ron Washington could really help somebody like Tyler Fitzgerald. And then you look at the group of guys, Tyler Fitzgerald, Casey Schmidt, Christian Koss. Potentially, if you have a need, you could trade one or more of those guys if you have a need, because I think there are scouts out there who've come in and really like the looks of Tyler Fitzgerald, and everybody knows, that he certainly has some tools that are really could be pretty outstanding at the big league level.
Yeah, I think you're dead on. I think it is a confidence thing. But for me, with Tyler, love the person, like the sweetest guy in the clubhouse, period. Like you don't say a guy could date your daughter, but that's a baseball player when you've done it for a living. Like that's a big statement for me. As you know, you've been around a long time, but he's just the nicest kid in the whole world. Always says hi to me. I mean, there's too much swing and miss for me with that kind of speed. Like he's a burner. Like he's above average runner. And if he could just find a way to like have some sort of 2-strike approach, and it's so easy to say on a podcast, right? When guys are throwing 110 miles an hour with exploding sliders, but some sort of consistency with 2 strikes just to hit a ground ball. You talk about putting pressure on a defense. If that guy can go, there used to be a saying, down and run. If you were a speed guy, like get on top of it and run, down and run. He's a perfect example of that. But I think he's got just enough sneaky pop, as we saw with that home run streak a couple of years ago. What was it? Like 7 games or something, 6 games, 7 games with a home run in a row. He's got just enough pop, but okay. That's great until you get to 2 strikes. But now I want him choking up 46 inches and just like punching it somewhere to get his speed on defense, to put pressure on the defense. But the tool set is there, the arm, the ability to play different positions, the pop, the speed. It's just a little too much swing and miss right now for me, and maybe he can make that adjustment. All right, Susan, empty the bag right here. You're at your 100 pitch count. We're at the last segment of the show. You're tired, so we're making it a quick one today. Any other thoughts on your first day in Scottsdale, first day of spring training that you want to mention here?
Well, I will say, we'll definitely do. We could even do a whole show on the bullpen because it remains a mystery. And I was trying to like poke Buster, like, what are you going to do there, and are you going to do anything more? We've all kind of been circling around that, and it's clear that some of the young starters, they're all going to get stretched out to start, but it sounds like one or more is in the mix potentially for the bullpen. That's not news. But I talked to Carson Wisenhunt today, and he's sort of changing a sort of now got a slurve, which he's really happy with. He's really looking forward to seeing like the kind of reactions he gets when a hitter's in the box, because he hasn't had that yet. So that's something to keep an eye on. I love his stuff. And he's the one guy that we haven't really seen in the bullpen out of the McDonald's and Birdsongs, and Landon Root was in the bullpen for a while. Like all of them, this seems to be this. So maybe it's his turn, but keep an eye on him. And I was so happy when I saw Will Bednar on the list of non-roster guys. He's completely been kind of fallen out of people's minds. And first round pick a few years ago, lots of injuries, issues, a back thing, which that's not good. But now he's a reliever like his brother, David, who's a closer for the Yankees. And he's talked to him a lot. They exchange ideas. And so that's a good person to have in your corner. But the stuff is good. Now, is he going to break camp with the big league team? No, but he's very likely to be at Sacramento, if not to start the season pretty soon. And from there, if there's a need in a bullpen and he's pitching well, you never know. So I'm really excited to see him. He's got the best attitude. He's so excited, like practically punch in the air kind of thing to be in big league camp finally, after being such a high profile pick. So really happy to see that, and really kind of interested to see, like he's just almost dancing around. It's really fun.
If there's any hiccups with Ryan Walker, this might be the most out of the box take I've had on this show. I think Hayden Birdsong would be a great closer. He's just got the mentality. He's got the makeup. He's got the moxie. He's got the forgettability if he has a bad one. He throws 100 miles an hour with a wipeout curveball, and you only need 2 pitches out of the bullpen. He's just got closer written all over him. I know maybe you don't give up on a kid that's that good as a starter this quick, but if there's a need, God, he just can. That's a guy you play the lights for and all the music for. And I hope Ryan Walker figures it out, because he's as dirty as anybody when he's stepping into the Giants dugout, throwing back this way with his slider. And if he gets a little bit bigger out there in the confidence this year, a lot like Hayden, I guess, they're kind of 2 guys that had a lot of stuff going on up here last year. But if there is a hiccup and he can't overcome that beast that is the 9th inning, and where we saw him stopping his delivery mid-delivery a couple of times and balking, and you could just tell he was overthinking it, talking about Walker. I think Birdsong would be he's got the mentality, the makeup, and the stuff to be a good big league closer.
I don't hate it. I mean, there's other possibilities out there. Eric Miller, if he's fully healthy, and he says he is, I certainly hope so. He could do it. Joel Peguero, I really liked his stuff. He wasn't, as successful maybe as you want to see down the stretch last year, but man, he showed some flashes of terrific stuff. And that, there are a few other guys, but they got question marks. That's just an area. Like, we've been looking forward to having things to talk about, FP. I feel as if we're going to spend a lot of time this spring talking about the bullpen.
We'll see. We'll see. Tony talked about it today, and he loves competition. There's going to be some good competition for those bullpen spots. Susan, thanks for being a gamer today. No, never a doubt. I knew you'd be ready for this after being in the dugout, doing interviews all day, getting in at 2 a.m, not by your own choice, but by your flight's choice, which is something new for you probably. But you did a great job today. And everybody out there, keep subscribing, keep liking. You guys are doing awesome. Like, everywhere Susan and I go, people are stopping us. Giants fans, we love your podcast. So this is gaining momentum. We want you guys to be a part of it, and we're super thankful that you are so far. But tell your friends, tell everybody, this is only going to get better. We're going to grab players during the season. We're going to bring them on. We're going to have the manager on, Buster on. It's growing. it's going to keep growing, but thanks to you guys. And Susan, thanks a lot for coming on today. And like I say on the way out, every single time, swing hard in case you hit it on Splash.